worsened to 22, while over hundreds of people are believed to have been injured in clashes with police, who used tear gas, water cannons, and live bullets as protesters scaled the walls of the parliament and other official buildings. The protest first began as outrage over a government-imposed social media ban, but soon escalated into a massive anti-corruption movement, with thousands of young people taking to the streets of Kathmandu, setting ablaze several government offices and forcing Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli to resign. Air India and Indigo were among the airlines that cancelled their flights to Kathmandu after the Tribhuvan International Airport in Nepal's capital was temporarily shut down, and amid massive anti-government protests, Nepal Airlines also called off its Delhi-Kathmandu flight, while Air India and SpiceJet extended their flight cancellations to and from Kathmandu for today. U.S. President Donald Trump clears Israel's strike on Hamas targets in Qatar does not advance Israel or America's goals, adding that he feels very badly about the location of the strike, says he tried but was too late to stop the attack. In a Truth Social post earlier, Trump said he was notified that Israel was attacking Hamas in the capital Doha by the U.S. military, but it was unfortunately too late to stop the attack. Saudi Arabia has blasted Israel's assault on Qatar, calling it a brutal act of aggression and a clear violation of Qatari sovereignty. In a strong statement, Riyadh pledged full solidarity with Doha, offering its resources and support for any response Qatar chooses. The kingdom also warned Israel of dire consequences if its repeated violations of international law and continued attacks persist. Iranian President Pezeshkian has denounced Israel's attack on Qatari soil, calling it a terrorist act that ignores all limits on crime and undermines diplomacy. He warned that global indifference only fuels the risk of wider war, urging the UN, the OIC, and other bodies to deliver a swift and practical response. The Iranian president stressed that true peace depends on ending occupation and aggression. UK Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper has strongly condemned Israel's strikes on Doha, warning they risk undermining crucial ceasefire talks, the only path to lasting peace. French President Emmanuel Macron also denounced these strikes as unacceptable, expressing solidarity with Qatar. Qatari Prime Minister has reaffirmed its commitment to its mediation role, despite Israel's recent airstrike on Hamas leaders in Doha. He called the attack treacherous and said U.S. officials warned Qatar only 10 minutes after it began. The Israeli strike targeted senior Hamas figures and escalated tensions in West Asia. The White House described the operation as a unilateral move that does not support U.S. or Israeli interests. Iran has reached an understanding with the United Nations nuclear watchdog IAEA on a new framework for cooperation following a suspension of engagement after June attacks on its nuclear facilities by Israel and the United States. The announcement followed a meeting between Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati, his Iranian counterpart Abbas Araghchi, and International Atomic Energy Agency Director General Rafael Grossi. Two videos posted on the Global Summit Flotilla's social media show what the flotilla claims is a second drone strike on their Gaza-bound vessel, the Alma, flying the British flag. The attack reportedly occurred in Tunisian waters near Sidibo, They said causing visible damage to the ship. The incident comes a day after the activists said another of their boats was hit by a similar suspected UAV attack, but Tunisian authorities said no drones had been detected. The non-backed Houthi movement has claimed responsibility for a coordinated attack targeting Israel, including the Ramon airport near Eilat. According to Houthi military spokesperson Yahya Sari, the group launched a hypersonic missile aimed at Jerusalem and deployed 3 drones hitting Ramon airport and 2 other critical sites in Eilat. A Russian glide bomb tore through a village square in eastern Ukraine, striking pensioners as they queued for aid. At least 24 were killed, 23 of them elderly, and 19 more injured in Yarova, just 10 kilometers from the front line. Officials say it is the latest in a string of strikes that have already claimed more than 12,000 civilian lives in the war. Poland has scrambled military aircraft and activated air defense systems early Wednesday after reports from Ukraine said that Russian drones have entered its airspace. The Polish Operational Command confirmed that Polish and Allied aircraft are patrolling the skies while ground-based radar and air defense are on high alert. Ukrainian sources say the drones were moving west, although the exact number of drones inside Polish airspace remains unclear. The Trump administration's new Make America Healthy Again report, led by Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., urges a renewed focus on investigating vaccine injuries, prescription drug use, and autism causes in children. The 20-page plan aims to address childhood diseases by redirecting public health efforts towards these key issues. Federal prosecutors have added a charge against De Carlos Brown Jr. linked to the fatal stabbing of Irina Zarutska on Charlotte's light rail. This federal count addresses violence on mass transportation systems and carries penalties of life without parole or the death penalty. Brown, already facing state first-degree murder charges, is a repeat violent offender. Attorney General Pamela Bondi has condemned the murder, blaming failed soft-on-crime policies, and vows to seek the maximum penalty to ensure Brown never walks free again. Hundreds of Ecuadorian police have staged a massive raid, seizing over $313 million in real estate controlled by the armed group Commandos de la Frontera. The Interior Ministry said the group funneled huge sums from organized crime, mainly drug trafficking, into the national financial system. President Daniel Noboa called it the biggest blow to Ecuador's criminal economies in history. Prosecutors at the International Criminal Court began presenting evidence in the court's first ever hearing without the accused, targeting fugitive Ugandan rebel leader Joseph Kony. He faces 39 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity for his brutal reign as head of Lord's Resistance Army, which terrorized northern Uganda from the 1980s in a violent campaign to overthrow the government. This landmark in absentia hearing marks a new chapter in international justice for elusive war criminals. Two Brazilian Supreme Court justices have voted to convict former President Jair Bolsonaro of leading criminal conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election, with three others yet to give their verdicts. Jair Bolsonaro would be facing over 40 years of prison term if convicted. Members of Venezuela's ruling party youth wing, joined by Interior Minister Diosdado Cabello, chanted fierce anti-U.S. slogans during a military drill. Their rallying cries warned of fierce resistance, declaring that Venezuela would not tolerate outside interference, and evoked a determination to fight, likening the potential conflict to a Latin American version of Vietnam. This show of defiance comes amid rising tensions triggered by recent U.S. warship deployments in the Caribbean. Prime Minister Narendra Modi met with Vice President-elect C.P. Radhakrishnan in the national capital and congratulated him on his victory. PM Modi was joined by Union Minister Kiren Rijiju, Prahlad Joshi and J.P. Nadda. Radhakrishnan defeated India bloc nominee Justice B. Sudarshan Reddy by 152 votes in the vice presidential elections. A total of 98.2% voter turnout was found in the vice presidential elections, wherein 767 MPs cast their vote out of 781. Hundreds of nurses from Peru's social security system marched through Lima, demanding better hospital conditions and patient care. They also protested low wages and staff shortages, citing that the current number of nurses cannot adequately serve insured Peruvians. The National Union of Social Security Nurses highlighted that nearly half of insured patients do not pay their health care premiums, further straining the system. More than 60 cargo containers toppled off the Mississippi vessel at the port of Long Beach, crashing into the water and halting operations. No injuries have been reported in the incident. At the busy pier terminal on the social platform X, the U.S. Coast Guard said that about 67 containers were in the water. The PRG container terminal, where the ship was moored, temporarily stopped unloading and loading ships as authorities worked to secure the containers. The Democratic Republic of Congo has launched a campaign at the United Nations urging the international community to recognize the genocide against civilians in eastern DRC. Human Rights Minister Samuel Mbemba has vowed to take the plea to New York, insisting that world leaders must address the atrocities plaguing the region. The call comes amid ongoing rebel violence, mass killings, and repeated warnings from rights groups and UN officials about potential crimes against humanity. Syria is turning a page in its foreign relations. Country's President Ahmed al-Shara is set to visit Moscow next month. Russia is calling it a new era in relations with Damascus. Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak announced the visit. Shara will travel to Moscow in October. He will take part in Russian Arab Summit. Novak described the trip as a step to strengthen bilateral cooperation, calling Syria a promising regional partner. The visit comes amid questions over the future of Russia's military bases in Tartus, crucial outpost secured under Assad, but now uncertain after his fall. French President Emmanuel Macron has named Defense Minister Sébastien Lecornu as the country's new Prime Minister. Lecornu will replace François Bayrou, who survived just 9 months in office. Legislators toppled Lecornu's predecessor, François Bayrou, and his government in a confidence vote on Monday, a new crisis for Europe's second-largest economy. The French presidency has said in a statement that Macron has tasked Lecornu to consult the political forces represented in Parliament with a view to adopt a budget for the nation and building the agreements essential to the decisions that will be taken in the coming months. Heavy rains in central Mexico's Jalisco state caused the Arroyo Seco River to overflow, flooding neighborhood streets. Residents are navigating these submerged areas using trucks and canoes as floodwaters make regular travel impossible. In India, the Yamuna River continues to flow dangerously close to the danger mark, posing a potential risk to nearby areas. Authorities remain on high alert, closely monitoring the water levels for any sudden changes. Streaming platform Plex has urged customers to change their passwords following a security breach. The company said a database containing usernames, email addresses, scrambled passwords, and authentication data was accessed by a third party. Plex confirmed it has addressed the method used to break into its systems but gave no details on the extent of the breach. The company said while passwords were encrypted, it is unclear if they can be decoded or if stolen data can be used to enter accounts. Customers have been asked to reset passwords via Plex's password reset form and sign out of connected devices. Plex has not revealed how many of its 25 million global users were affected when the breach took place or whether a ransom demand was made. The United States has imposed sanctions on cyber scam operators in Myanmar and Cambodia, accusing them of stealing tens of billions from Americans last year. The Treasury said criminal groups have trafficked hundreds of thousands into scam compounds, especially along the Thai-Myanmar border. Officials described the operations as both a threat to Americans' financial security and a form of modern slavery. The scams involve money laundering, illegal gambling, and fraudulent investments, often run by trafficked foreigners forced into debt bondage. 9 companies and individuals in Shwekoko, a town on the Thai border, were among those sanctioned. The U.S. said the measures aim to cut funding to networks operating under both militias and Myanmar's junta. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced that trade negotiations with India are ongoing to resolve existing barriers between the two countries. He expressed confidence in a successful outcome and looks forward to speaking with his quote-unquote very good friend, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in the coming weeks. In response, Indian PM Narendra Modi has expressed faith in the ongoing trade talks, asserting that they would unlock the limitless potential of trade ties between India and the U.S. China's consumer inflation dropped below zero in August, with the consumer price index falling 0.2% year-on-year, signaling weakening domestic demand. Core inflation, which excludes food and energy, stayed flat, showing deeper deflation risks. Meanwhile, producer prices continued to decline for the 17th straight month. Analysts say this reflects sluggish consumer spending and limited recovery momentum, despite Beijing's recent efforts to stimulate the economy and target 5% GDP growth for 2025. Gold held steady just below a record high, trading near $3,623 an ounce after briefly topping $3,674 this week. The metal's rally, now nearly 40% year-to-date, is fueled by expectations of Fed rate cuts and escalating global tensions. A historic downward payrolls revision and upcoming U.S. inflation data are shaping traders' outlook ahead of next week's Fed meeting. In geopolitics, an Israeli strike on Hamas leaders in Doha and U.S. President Trump's tariff threats against India and China added to market uncertainty. Silver hovered just below $41, while platinum and palladium posted gains. Oil prices rose slightly after Israel struck Hamas leaders in Qatar, and U.S. President Trump urged Europe to impose 100% tariffs on buyers of Russian oil, targeting China and India. Brent rose to $66.74 and WTI to $62.99 per barrel, but gains were capped by a weak market outlook and rising global inventories. Analysts say the limited price reaction shows skepticism over U.S. policy impacts and concerns about OPEC Plus output increases. Markets now eye the Federal Reserve meeting with possible rate cuts that could spur oil demand.